Hi, my name's Mary. I'm an environment educator here at Greenacres. We're going to learn about some of the animals that call this area of Ohio home. And the way we're going to do that is by looking at the tracks and signs that they leave behind. Now, a track is an animal footprint. Different animals have different shaped feet. So we're going to look to see, based on the shape that we see, what animal was here, and maybe learn a little bit about them as well. And we'll also be looking for signs. Signs are feathers, fur, chewed nuts, or even scat. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later. So let's first take a look at a track that I found here at our stream habitat. A stream habitat is a great place to look for tracks because a lot of times you'll see nice soft mud here, as well as sand or soft clay. So I found some really cool tracks this morning. You'll come close, let's make some observations. Here's 2 tracks that I found. So first, I want to know, how many toes do you see here? I see 2 toes. 1, 2, right here. What is the overall shape that you see? I see kind of a pointy part here, and then more of a flatter part here, and then right here I see kind of a ridge where the mud has come up in the center. Which way do you think it was going? It was going this direction because the point here is pointing in that direction. That was the front part of the foot. And my last question is, was the animal moving, or was it standing still, or was it going fast somewhere? This, I think, because there's 2 right next to each other, I think the animal was standing still. So let's paint a picture of what might have happened here. You probably have already guessed it. This was a deer that walked through here. I think that this deer walked up, stood still for a little bit, looked around to see if there were any predators, and then walked up closer to the water to get a nice long drink of water. And then maybe headed off to another habitat to find some food. Alright, we're going to move on to our next habitat to see what else we can find. Oh, wow! Look at this! Wow! I'm now here in my field habitat, and I just found this really cool sign that an animal left behind. This here is scat. Scat is a scientific word for poop. Interesting, right? Alright, we're going to get a nice close look, and just know that we never ever touch scat with our bare hands. I'm just going to use a stick to point out some different pieces that I noticed. So first, let's look at this shape of the scat. Different animals leave different shaped scats. Just like with footprints, it's the same with scat. So for this scat, I see some tapered ends, some pointy ends here. Here's another one. I also see that's really dark in color. And I also see that there's a whole bunch of hair in it. So that tells me that this animal is a predator. It was eating other animals. And it's also a carnivore. Because of that fur there, I know that it's eating small mammals. This animal here is a coyote. So now I want you to think about how this coyote is interacting or functioning inside this ecosystem. So it might have gone over to the stream, taken a big gulp of water, and then walked over into here, into the field, to do its hunting and eating, and going to the bathroom. Alright, we're now going to move on to our next habitat. Alright, I just arrived in our forest habitat, and I'm already seeing so many signs that animals were here. So the first sign I'm seeing is some chewed walnuts right here. And before we get into these chewed nuts, I'm going to talk a little bit about the anatomy of a walnut. So first, when the walnut comes off the tree, it has this really thick, soft husk on it. And then in order to get to the next layer, you have to peel through that soft part and get to the hard part here, this shell. And then inside that shell is what we call the nut meat, and that's what the animals are looking for. That yummy nut meat that's full of protein and fat that's going to help them make it through the winter. So here, let's take a look at our walnuts. So I can see that there are chew marks on this walnut. This animal had really strong teeth as it dug into that nut, trying to then get out that yummy nut meat in there, again full of protein and fat. And then when they were done, I actually see some other animals inside there getting any of the leftovers that the squirrel couldn't get, which there's some ants in there eating that leftover nut meat. Now I want you to picture in your mind's eye a squirrel maybe sitting on this log here, holding this nut, chewing through that tough outer shell and hearing that scratching sound as the squirrel is eating and trying to eat up all that yummy nut meat. This animal that ate this squirrel, is an herbivore. It just eats plants like this. The other thing I found here is something called a kill site. I see a pile of feathers here, and all these feathers look to be the same color, so they appear to be from the same type of bird, except I see some bigger feathers and some smaller feathers. So what I think happened here was a small bluebird was here, and a larger hawk came and picked off that bluebird and ate it. So that larger hawk would be a predator, specifically a carnivore, because it's eating meat. Well, we just saw 4 examples of signs and tracks here in our ecosystem here at Greenacres. We saw deer tracks, we saw coyote scat in the field, and we saw some chewed nuts and a kill site here in our forest habitat. I challenge you to go out into your schoolyard or a park nearby to try to find some tracks and signs that animals might leave behind and learn from them. Think about what happened here. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you next time here at Greenacres.